Hey, we are live. We are live, and I have somebody in the back room here, in the green room, they call it, by the name of Sheryl Anjanette. And Sheryl has released a new book, and we're going to talk about her new book called The Imposter Lies. Notice the pause. Lies Within. Let me bring Sheryl on. She's trying to share this right now, so I don't want to interrupt her so we can get this shared out. And if you guys would go ahead and share this, you will absolutely adore this lady. So let me bring Sheryl on. Sheryl, welcome.
Hey, Ken.
I have Breakthrough Walls up there, although this isn't the Breakthrough Wall. You've already been on Breakthrough Walls.
I have.
And so, Sheryl, you have a new book out. We're going to talk about your new book called The Imposter Lies Within. That should be comma. Because it does lie, doesn't it?
It lies within, and it lies within.
So, talk about the book. First talk a little bit about for those that didn't see you on my show, talk a little bit about your background and who you are and what in the world qualifies you to write a book about imposters.
Well, Ken, first of all, just so everyone knows, imposter syndrome doesn't mean you're an imposter. So it's not that I'm an imposter. And it doesn't mean other people think you're an imposter. It's that feeling that you feel like you're an imposter.
Right.
And, I came from this 30 years of business background. I've been an entrepreneur a few times. One of my companies I had for close to 20 years. And then I also did the deep dive, and I've worked at the C-suite executive level for a couple of big companies. And so then I did the deep dive into the healing arts. So I'm an integrative hypnotherapist, which simply means I studied and practiced multiple modalities of hypnotherapy, NLP, energy psychology, and I'm an intuitive. So I kind of brought those together to tackle this thing we call imposter syndrome, because it's so prevalent. So prevalent.
It is incredibly prevalent. And I think that I don't think that there is a human being alive that hasn't experienced it.
Well, yes and no.
Really?
And so that's a common thing I hear. And I hear it all the time. I even hear it from people that hear me over and over, because we just think, we kind of go from, when we're experiencing imposter syndrome, we go from thinking we're the only ones because we're so busy trying to hide it, to realizing, oh, other people are experiencing this too. It means it's so prevalent. Everyone experiences it. And the truth is, it's something like, before the pandemic, it was like 70% of people identified with it. And since the pandemic, it's probably closer to like 85% from the studies I've seen. So that being said, think about it. It's 15%-ish, like 15% or so of people don't experience it. And what's really interesting is that I live with one of them. My husband, so when you really understand what it is, because there's a disconnect. You see, it's not just self-doubt. A lot of people think, ooh, I'm new at something, or I'm feeling self-doubt, or I'm a little bit fearful, or I'm wondering, am I good enough? Are people going to think I'm good enough?
Right.
Right?
Right.
But every time you have that feeling, doesn't necessarily mean imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is when you do the thing, you have the accomplishment, you are good at it, it's verifiable, we can see it.
Yeah.
You still feel like you're not good enough. You still feel like you're not worthy. And people feel different parts of it. Some people might say, I feel like I'm good enough, but I don't feel worthy. Or I feel good enough, but I don't feel like I deserve that. Like it should go to somebody else, or I don't feel like my voice matters. And
Got
there's
it.
this other feeling there, like, it could all disappear. It's
Yeah.
almost like, oh, they're going to find out I'm not good enough, and then it's all going to be gone.
Yeah.
And you may have done this over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you've gotten all the validation, and it's true. You're there, Sheryl Sandberg, Albert Einstein, Tina Fey,
Yeah.
you name it. These people that are just Maya Angelou, and probably 8 of the people that are standing around you or that in your circle today.
Yeah.
But there's still that disconnect.
What's the root cause, or is it, I would imagine there's not one single root cause. Maybe there is.
Well, first of all, I love that you asked that question, because that's so pivotal to my approach in getting past this. So pivotal, because normally what people say is, well, just feel the fear and do it anyway. Or just do it imperfectly, because there's a lot of perfectionism. I have 7 archetypes I go through in the book, 7, but perfectionist is one of them. Or all these people, so they'll say, just do this thing. And there are a lot of things you can do, but they kind of work from the outside in. It's like peeling back the layers, and they're good. They're important because they help repattern the mind. But the root cause, what you just asked, Ken, that's like, well, what's going on inside? What made me believe? Because it's a belief.
Right.
I'm not talking about religious beliefs.
Right.
I'm talking about those core beliefs in, am I good enough or not? Am I worthy or not? Am I deserving or not? Right?
Yeah.
So generally what happens is we're young children, we're growing up, and we're like little sponges, and things happen, and it's not so much the thing, it's not so much the experience that happened, because we can't change the experience, but it's the meaning we gave it, the interpretation we had of the experience at that age, and the weight we gave to it. And so our minds want to make us right. We look for evidence to make ourselves right. So something happens and I think, oh, I'm not very good at that. I'm not good enough. Or mommy or daddy said, don't do that. They didn't mean I was a bad girl, but I took it as I'm a bad girl, or I'm not good enough, or shh, you shouldn't speak, right?
Yeah.
But then I keep looking for evidence, and it's like, ooh, okay, more evidence that I'm not good enough, more evidence I'm not good enough. And I might do something over here that I am good at, but this over here is weightier, right? So my mind, my subconscious mind, this is all kind of going below the surface, where the beliefs are held, starts giving more weight to those. And our mind is kind of biased towards the negative. It's part of the way we're wired to stay safe, right? To be worried about the negative things that happen. And so we get these kind of layered beliefs that are really deep inside.
So, funny, I had a conversation today with a psychologist friend of mine, and we were talking about money and money blocks, and which is, again, this is right down that same exact alley. And I think that there are people that don't feel worthy of accumulating wealth or having a ton of money, and so they don't ever, they don't. And go ahead, sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, whatever you tell your subconscious mind, it believes you. It's non-critical, it's literal. So if you say you deserve this, you'll get that. If you say I don't deserve this, and we don't always know cognitively, sometimes it's just really deeply buried inside.
Yeah.
The belief, money is the root of all evil, right?
Yeah.
Or
right. Yeah.
Be humble, don't have money. When somebody's rich, they must be evil, or they must be greedy, or we apply all these thoughts or beliefs.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be that person.
So your book, and again, for anybody just jumping on, you released today, right? Today?
Yeah, today's the
Yeah.
birthday.
Yes.
I'm a new
Congratulations.
mother.
The Imposter Lies Within. Silence your inner critic. Tame your fear. Unleash your badassery.
Yes.
That's awesome. So talk about why you decided to write this book. What was it that made you go, I've got to write a book about this, number one, and number two, what will the reader um what will they gain by reading this book?
Yeah, so both good questions. So what brought me to imposter syndrome was manifestation. That was the door.
Okay.
And I was working with manifestation. I was working with individuals and also in groups. And one of the things that I was really working with is this idea that we are always manifesting. We're always manifesting. We're calling in whatever it is that we're thinking about, whatever our emotional state is. There's this whole process. It's not just thoughts.
Yeah.
That's a piece of it. It's an important piece, but we want to have a clear message. And so I was working with people on how to create that alignment. And I was really diving deep, and I was saying, okay, what are the gaps? Why do so many people do the things? They're saying their affirmations, and they're doing their vision boards, and they're writing their checks, and they're calling in either more of what they already have, which isn't what they want, or the opposite of what they want.
Right.
And I had jumped on Clubhouse, and I was on Clubhouse, and I started to listen, and people were talking about imposter syndrome. And so as I'm listening to people, I decided, this sounds like those cracks in the foundation. This sounds like the things that are keeping people from getting what they really want, is those beliefs, the mixed messages that we're sending out there. So I opened a room, and I started running a room on imposter syndrome. And I was bringing people in, and it was just great market research. I mean, I was listening to people, I was working with people, and I was hearing this pain. And I had actually started a book on manifestation. And I thought, no, you have to correct the foundation first. Got to get the foundation right. Right?
Yep.
You need
Yep.
to, it was just a calling. And I remember being in somebody else's room. It wasn't my room. But I remember thinking, it's time to write a book. It just kind of came to me, and the name came to me. It was like the name was just there. That was the name. It wasn't like I sat and wrote a bunch of names on a thing. It was like, this is your book. This is what you're meant to write.
Yeah.
And I started writing it last June.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And what people will get from this book is a very methodical approach to get past imposter syndrome.
Okay.
There's a journey. It's a map. It's mapped out. There are 4 parts, and it builds. So you go from awareness, and there are 20 exercises throughout. So it's not a book you read. I mean, you can read it, but it's really a book you use. You go back to it. There are the exercises, and they work. But, I also have a course that I'm launching. I call it a journey, not a course, because there's a lot that we need to do in the deep dive as well.
Yeah. So this book is I'm for some reason I can't see. Oh, there we go. I don't know what happened. So Brandy says, did you have any imposter syndrome while writing the book? That would be ironic.
Well, I think it was really interesting when I first started writing the book.
And by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt. No, I'm not sorry to interrupt. I did it on
Sorry, not
purpose.
sorry.
I want everybody to know I put the link up on the comments, so you can go pick up a copy of the book over on Amazon. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry, who was that asked the question?
There's Joe Ingram, who's in California.
Hey,
Hilarious.
Joe. Hey, Brandy. Hey,
Brandy.
Brandy. So it was interesting. I'm stubborn. A lot of people don't know that about me because I'm pretty patient, and they always say, "Oh, you have this soft voice and you're so nice." But as my husband, I can be stubborn.
Right.
And one thing I decided was I didn't like hearing that people were saying you just have to live with it. Everybody has it. You just got to live with it. I thought, no, there has to be a way past this. There has to way. So I really broke it down, and I looked at the different behaviors and the different archetypes and the root causes and the ways to get past it. And so as I was writing the book, and really more towards the beginning, I was really paying attention to my own imposter syndrome, because when you read the archetypes, when you read the 7 archetypes, I was all seven, 100%.
Wow.
Yes. And so I really personally did the work. I did the work. And one of the last things that was really hard for me to get past was judgment. And I always think of judgment as a 3-headed dragon. So there's that self-critic, the self-judge, the inner critic. There's the worry about what other people think, like who's judging me. Yep. And then the third head is the hardest one. That's where it takes like that radical self-honesty is, am I judging somebody else? And you have to, it's hard because we don't like to think of ourselves that way. And so the two that were easiest for me to kind of nix were, the easiest one was judging other people, because it was very easy for me to give others grace and space. And anytime the judgment would come up, which it does, because we kind of go, well, who are they to say that? Or did they just cut that person off? Or what's wrong with that person? You just say, you know what? Everyone's on their own journey. I don't know what else is going on in their life. It's okay. It doesn't really affect my life. And I was able to kind of do that one really quick. The self-critic was harder. Just being kind to myself. I never thought I was a bully until I heard the way I talked to myself.
Right.
That conversation between your ears and
the
judge. And so I have 3 exercises for the inner critic in the book, and I really worked on that one. But the last one, which really came up with writing the book, was I was like, what are other people going to think? Or who's judging? And there were always people that popped up into my head. And, sometimes it was family, because you've known them so long. And, honestly, people do judge us.
Yep.
To say sometimes it's not true. Sometimes they really aren't. And we're making it up, and we're presupposing, and we have to kind of go, I don't really know. Why am I even thinking that? Maybe it's not even true. And sometimes it's true. Sometimes they are being judgmental, but then so what? So they're on their own journey, and who knows what's making them be judgmental? What are they going through? So I but there were a couple of people there that would always pop up in my head, and I had to just stop myself and do the things that I teach now, which is kicking myself back into the healthy zone and saying, you know what, Sheryl, it's okay.
Yep.
Maybe they're not judging you, but maybe they are. And if they are, it's okay. Like, let it go. It's not important. Just do your thing, be authentic, be true to who you are.
Yeah.
You're helping people, and that's the most important thing. And almost kind of like when I used to have I worked in the big corporate world, and I had a lot of people reporting to me when people weren't playing nice or they were difficult. I would just say to myself, you know what? They just need time to catch up. They need to self-correct. One of my favorite people when I was young, a manager said, put on your big girl panties and deal with it. It was like, okay, they just have to kind of deal with that. I can't do it for them.
And I want to say hi to Bob Donnell. Bob, great to see you here. Great man right there. Ted Legal, how are you? And Brandy says, great response. Thank you. I think that, I've coached a lot of people. I still do. And I've worked with a lot of people that I know most people experience this imposter syndrome. I've been there, right? I can remember 20 years ago when I first got sober, looking around in the rooms of these meetings I was attending, recovery meetings, thinking, I can't believe these people let me in here. if they knew who I was. And then
Yeah.
I stayed, and I found out that I wasn't nearly as bad as a lot of people in those rooms. So,
Yeah.
you know, um, that's my buddy Glenn Morshower calls it um, comparitis or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Comparisonitis or compare
Yeah,
despair.
yeah,
Yeah. It's hard. So, this feeling of not belonging,
yeah,
that's a very common feeling with imposter syndrome,
yeah,
you know, and and then comparison. So, like you asked, Ken, what does that feel like when you get past imposter syndrome? And what it feels like is this. And I know because I'm past it now, right?
yeah,
It's like something comes up. First of all, let me say that almost every, and I'd like to say every, but I never like to, say
yeah,
everything, but almost every emotion or behavior can be healthy. I talk about a concept that I've coined called the healthy zone,
yeah.
and you'll read about it in the book. So, in the healthy zone, fear is necessary. Fear is your friend. Fear keeps us safe. Imagine life with no fear. I
Right.
mean, you'd walk into the lion's den,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Fear can be a catalyst. It can move us towards courage. It can help launch us if it's a friend.
Yeah.
Doubt is our discernment muscle. Imagine no doubt. You'd believe every Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? Or
Yep.
Harriet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we have to be careful. Perfectionism. So, even comparison, right? Comparison is necessary. We would not know day without night, light without dark, good without bad,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We don't know a good manager if we haven't experienced a bad manager,
Sure.
right? That's
Sure.
part of gratitude.
Yeah.
So, getting past imposter syndrome is when these are in what I call the healthy zone. So, a healthy zone for comparison looks like this. I get in a room and there are three other people talking about mindset and business and imposter syndrome or whatever it is. And I feel grateful. Like, I don't feel like, what are they saying? Did they say what I said? Is it different from me? Who are their clients? What are they doing? Maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I'm better than them. Maybe I'm worse than them. I don't do any of that anymore. I just think, wow, cool. Other people are thinking like me. This is my tribe. We need more of us to be out there to help because so many people have this issue.
Right.
I must be doing something right because I'm attracting this caliber of person to me. So
Mm.
it's like, yay, me. I'm feeling good about that comparison.
Yeah.
That's a very different world I live in inside my body than the old one of comparing and then getting frustrated. And, I've seen in Clubhouse, we get those back channels. And I've seen people that are PhDs and very accomplished and really influential, like talking about, are they copying me? Did they say what I said? I mean, it's almost like childlike behavior
Yeah.
and feeling very affronted by this and affronted by that. And I think that's unbecoming of a leader.
There's a pardon me. Excuse me. There is a I wrote this in my first book. I said I reference a lot of different people in my book that I've learned from and gained wisdom from over the years. And I will give them credit 100% of the time if it's something. And
Absolutely.
I literally said this. I said, but one of my favorite quotes, and I don't remember where it came from. Dr. Wayne Dyer, I think, said it. And that is There is no such thing as an original thought. All wisdom is plagiarized. Only stupidity is original.
Well,
And
that's hysterical. I mean, look, there are some things that are blatantly plagiarized, and
sure.
nobody should be doing that. We should all give
Amen.
credit. I've seen somebody that was well known, we know their quote, and somebody else like put their name under that quote. And I thought,
Yeah.
I can't follow that person anymore. I
Yeah.
don't want to be in that world. But that being said, I'm a creative. I had a marketing agency for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
We take inspiration from other people. But anything I do, if I tell you, whoever you are, I'll just say you as an example because we're here together. But you know what, Ken, you've got this. All you need to do is reframe that thought, put that in your mind and go. I'm sure someone else has said that before. They probably haven't said it to you in exactly the same way at the time you needed it, right?
Right.
I'm just giving you kind of a whatever example. We still put our own signature on art. I could try to paint, to look at somebody's style of painting and put a different kind of use that style, but my painting's going to come out completely different.
Yeah. Wayne Dyer was talking about that all of these thoughts are out here in the ethos, that they're, that they originate from the creator, and, talking about there's a thing called the 100th monkey syndrome, that, talks about how they'll take two monkeys from the same family, move one to a remote island on the other side of the world, teach this one a new trick that it's never done before. And in a matter of short span of time, the other monkey, without being taught that trick, starts doing the trick on its own, because Einstein said everything is energy in motion, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, again, I look at the imposter syndrome. People are afraid of taking action because one of the things I've always been, not always, but I was afraid of at one point was, becoming a coach, even though I had somebody saying you need to be a coach. And I'm like, I don't have the, I'm not a certified coach. I'm certifiably insane at times, but I'm not a certified coach and all of that. Until I did it and I made a significant impact in someone's life. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I am qualified to do this,
Yeah. I just heard Jim Quick, Jim Quick.
Oh yeah.
Limitless.
Love Jim.
He was speaking and he says, and I'm sure you've heard him say this, we'll fight for our limits.
Yeah.
We'll fight for our limits.
Mm.
Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? And I always say, and I say this in my, chapter on self-sabotage, we come up with really good explanations, excuses, but we call them explanations. And sometimes they're not excuses, but they're really good explanations. Why people pleasing is a good thing.
Yeah.
Why perfectionism is good. Why imposter syndrome is good. Imposter syndrome, I think it just means I'm out of my comfort zone. It pushes me to do something more. And I think a lot of that one is just not really understanding what imposter syndrome is. Yeah. I think if you're in the healthy zone and you're in an adaptive zone, that is healthy to have a little self-doubt. It is healthy to get used to being able to face fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's in the maladaptive zone that it is imposter syndrome, where there is that disconnect. We are out of alignment. That's not healthy.
Yep.
That's not healthy, right? Yep. And yes, so we'll look for, I'm a people pleaser. I'm just a really nice person.
Yeah.
I do for everyone else. Maybe I don't set my boundaries, but that's really hard to say no. I can't say no to anybody because then I'm not going to be a nice person. And they may not, the truth is, if I say no, I might not belong anymore, or they might not think I'm good enough, right?
Yep.
They may abandon me. That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yep.
But with the people pleaser, as an example, what happens? Somebody that is not setting boundaries and they are not saying no, they put themselves last in their own life. They end up feeling resentful.
Of
So
course.
now I'm people pleasing. I'm doing everything for you. And then I start to get resentful of you. And you're thinking, oh, what did I do? See how hard that is in a relationship?
I went to Al-Anon as well because I found out that I was a people pleaser, and it was the craziest thing. In that recovery program, they actually, I heard a comedian say Al-Anon, where wine is a verb, but but one of the things that they literally, if you stay in, they force you to do is take responsibility for being codependent, and it's a serious thing. Like, people, it's number one, it's very difficult for a codependent person to admit they're codependent. It's literally the
Absolutely.
opposite of the disease, right? Like, of the illness. And it is what it is. But I think about that because you know, like, when you're in that victim mentality, it's almost natural for you to want to be a people pleaser.
Yeah. And it just self-perpetuates because as you do the people pleasing, you become more of the martyr, more
Yes.
of the victim, right? It continues. I talk about codependency. It affects all relationships
Yep.
because we can have these are not just our romantic relationships,
No.
right? These are our work relationships. These are our family relationships. These are friend relationships.
Yep.
These are all kinds of relationships, right? You have the savior, you have the seven archetypes, the people pleaser, the perfectionist, the master that just needs one more degree or certification to be good enough.
Yeah.
There's the savior, the superhero, the prodigy. And well, let me tell you who the prodigy is. The superhero, I think right?
Yeah.
Overcompensating. Savior has to save everyone, looks for situations to save.
Yeah.
The prodigy is that person that goes from zero to hero. We all have that zone of genius. I can't speak. We all have that zone of genius, someplace where we just excel.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a great artist. Maybe you're great with people. Maybe you're great at math, whatever it is, right? But you go from zero to hero or beginner to mastery very, very easily, very quickly.
Yeah.
But for someone with imposter syndrome, the prodigy will either take something on and then kind of get into project paralysis, analysis paralysis, and then quit. So they become kind of the quitter, and they'll come up with a good explanation for why they just can't finish that. Or they just won't get into something because that competency staircase where they might slip,
Yeah.
where they might be found out is not good enough,
Right.
really what it is
Yeah.
so painful that they won't even get in the game. And then
Yeah.
the seventh one is the Lone Ranger. And the Lone Ranger, the Lone Ranger, if you're talking about in the healthy zone, that's a good thing to be resilient. If you have to be able to, get things done on your own. But in the maladaptive zone, the Lone Ranger has trouble delegating. They really have trouble asking for help. And
Yeah.
it's really hard for a Lone Ranger because if they're trying to get over it and they ask for help and someone doesn't help them, they go right back in. It's like, oh, you see, nobody wants to help me. I'm going to be found out as not good enough. How do you recognize being a pleaser? Being a pleaser in the maladaptive zone, do you say no when you want to say no or when you need to say no? Ask yourself,
Right.
do you ever find yourself saying yes when you want to, but you really don't have the time? Or especially when you don't want to and you say yes. have trouble setting boundaries. Really trouble. You know, it's so interesting about boundaries because the people pleaser feels like if they set the boundaries, they're not going to be liked. They're
Yep.
not going to be respected. You know, someone's going to go away. And the truth is, the opposite happens. The opposite happens. So, a little trick with people pleasing to get past it. And by the way, if you're a people pleaser, you've trained the people around you to be with the people pleasers. So, you're going to get pushback when you start to do this stuff.
Yep.
When you start setting boundaries and saying, no, people aren't going to like that because they think they can just count on you to be kind of the schmooze that will always say yes.
Or the doormat.
Or the doormat. Yes.
Yep.
And so you have to start to practice and you have to stand firm. You know, like a parent does with their kids, like no is no, right?
Yep.
No pushing me around. So I just always say start with things that aren't that big of a deal. Start with saying, no, you can't go to a movie with some friends.
Right.
Because you just don't have the time or whatever it is. Or you made another commitment, or just start saying no so you get used to that muscle. You start to exercise it. I wanted to ask, I think that was Olga. Did that answer your question, Olga? Was that helpful?
Yeah, it was Olga that said that. So, you know, I think that I had a thought and it's gone now. So if it comes back, I will throw it out. She says, that makes sense. Thank you. I don't think I am one. I just naturally like helping, but I can say no. Sometimes I'm a sucker with my kids. That that's the other thing is I do believe that everybody, except for narcissists, everybody has some level of not people pleasing, but codependency, some degree of it. Would you
I
agree or
think it
disagree?
depends
I don't
on,
mean in the negative sense either.
yeah, I think that I probably wouldn't then call it codependency. You know, I think being a helpful giver or wanting to give someone a hand up when you can,
Yeah.
but without feeling like it's your duty, that they're not going to be able to do it without you.
Right.
You know, that it's a really interesting thing because I remember when I was in my 40s, which is interesting because I'm only 29, but I
I know.
remember when I was in my
How'd you do
40s
that?
and a friend of mine who was, I think, 39 got breast cancer. And she was very young and she lived by herself and she had just gotten out of a relationship. So she really was by herself, but she had her friends. And I remember I had a job offer and I was thinking I might need to move for the job offer. And it went through my mind that I shouldn't move because my friend might need to come and live with me and I would need to take care of her. Now, there was absolutely no reason for me to think I needed to take care of her. She could take care of herself and she had a lot of other friends, but that's just the way I thought. My dad was definitely codependent. My dad was definitely a pleaser. My dad was definitely a savior. My dad was definitely the superhero. And I kind of just saw that modeled behavior and I thought it was up to me to come and save the day
Yeah.
all the time. And now I help people who are going through not just difficult diseases, but I help people that have really had the really hard trauma. The
Yeah.
stuff that you don't even want to talk about. It's like, how can you imagine? And I can be there. I can give them my heart. I can give them my expertise. I can really be empathetic, but I don't take it in. I'm able
Right.
to like separate myself from it, have my peace of mind, not think about it after I have a session with them. And I'm able to not, it's different. I don't feel like it's up to me to save them.
Right.
Now, if someone's coming to me and they want me to think that, I'm not your girl. I'm not your gal. I liked, when I work with people, I don't like them to stay with me for very long. I'm very different than a lot of therapists. I'm a
Yeah.
hypnotherapist, but I do whatever I can to get people to not need me.
Yeah. So the end result,
Mm.
for anyone who goes to Amazon and buys a copy of your book and then they read it, I'm lucky. I have a signed copy. For anyone who goes and picks up a copy of this book and they read it, what's going to be the end result for them? I love this book, by the way. Can I show some of the stuff inside?
Sure.
Like you just open up and you've got mind mapping, the journey, like it's really great. So what are they going to gain? What's the end result?
Well, it depends on the person. So
Okay.
if you go through this book and immerse yourself in the awareness, so you really don't just understand what imposter syndrome is or these different concepts and what it isn't, because I do talk about the myths and the things that it isn't, and the healthy zone that I talk about, and my mind stack and the way the mind, the emotions and thoughts, like when you really understand this and then you do the deep dive inside your own life, if you're willing to do that, and you come out that through the alignment phase and then integration, you will be that fully integrated whole person that has peace of mind and be in, most of the time, that state of flow. Not always, but you know how to get yourself back there fairly quickly. And what that means is when something happens, like a big change that was unexpected, or perhaps a loss where you're in grief, or you've lost a job, or, you know, there's been a disappointment, or something comes up that's new and you're just like, wow, I haven't been new at something like this for a while.
Right.
You know, you have a very adaptive response. You kick yourself into the healthy zone pretty quickly. You know, you find that you internally, we've reset the beliefs and the thoughts and the self-talk.
Right.
So we start, it's like the mind stack is the experience happens, the meaning we give it creates our belief system and our emotional identity, that identity piece, right? So that's all been reset. We reset that. We reset the thoughts. We reset self-talk. And you start to be your own champion, your own friend. You hear in your mind something new happens, or fear, you hear a good voice like, I'm okay. I've got this.
Yeah.
You know what? I can do this. I'm just the guy or the girl for the job.
Yeah.
I can do this. I got this. And you hear, you know what? You made a mistake. That's probably good. It makes you more endearing.
Yeah.
People are going to be more attracted to you because you just kind of flub that up. And, you know, you have a different, like your own coach, right?
Yep.
You coach people, Ken, right?
Yeah.
Imagine having that coach, Coach Ken in your head all the time, telling you, you've got this, you can do this. And so you just, you know, it's life is dynamic. It's not like you're always in flow and you've got this in your, but you're not pretending anymore. You're not ruminating. You know, if thought starts to loop in your mind, you get it into, I call it the studio. You get creative with it.
Yeah.
You get into curiosity, you get creative, and it's productive. Rumination is when that thought loops and it's unproductive.
My a friend of mine from years ago, when I first got into recovery, he used to say, dude, turn off your projector, it's broken. Because I could never project good things into my life. It was always, you know, a meteor's gonna land on me and I'm, you know, like the worst possible case scenario. So it does require a lot of work and it requires time and effort. You've got to put in the work.
Yeah, but you know, I love the name of your show, Breakthrough Walls. And I know this isn't Breakthrough Walls, but
Right.
One of the things that happens, I want you to think about anything you've done that's taken a lot of work, but you got the breakthrough. Anything, your business. Let's say it's not even an emotional breakthrough. You worked really hard and you got that job, or you did that, you know, 10K or 5K or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's work, but it's exciting. It's
Yep.
enthralling. You put the sweat equity into it. So when you're doing this emotional work and you're breaking through,
Yep.
it's interesting. I don't know if you felt this, Ken, but when you kind of, it's almost like unloading a lot of heavy baggage.
Yeah.
You just feel lighter. You feel freer. That's what flow feels like. Your vibration is higher. So if you think about how a hummingbird is and it's flopping its wings really so fast you can't even see the wings,
Right.
right? Because it's happy. And so when we're vibrating at a higher frequency, we're joyful, we're in love, we're
Yep.
feeling good, or we're just at peace,
Yep.
even if we're neutral.
I agree. I think that, you know, I think about like Grant Cardone says, if there's something that you're afraid of doing, like, like sales, people are like, I'm not in sales. Literally, if you're alive, you're in sales in some
Yeah.
capacity, right? It's just because you lack knowledge in something. There's something you don't know, and I think personally that, and this is just my take on it, if there's something I don't know, but I really want to um, give it a whirl, like, maybe something with technology, which is something I love. Um, I just start researching and studying until I know what I'm doing, and my confidence builds from there. So then,
Yeah.
and I think that helps with the imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I think this is a really good kind of end of the conversation piece because, and I have a whole chapter in the book. I think it's called The Confidence. There are 20 chapters, by the way, but it's called, I'm just going to look real quick here. It's called About Confidence, the two-sided coin. So here's my take on confidence. I think a lot of people think of confidence and competence.
Right.
Competence
Okay.
as being the same thing.
Okay.
And so the way I look at it is there's our inner confidence and the outer confidence. So the inner confidence has nothing to do with competence. The inner confidence has to do with who are you as a person? Do you
Mm,
like yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you feel okay just in your skin? That you're good enough, that you're worthy, that you're deserving. You may not be good at something, but someone with really good inner confidence can go out and trip and fall and go, "Ooh, I tripped and fell. I'll get back up and try it again. And maybe the next time I won't, or maybe I'll do it, 99 more times before I don't. Who knows?"
right.
And so confidence will give you that outer confidence and it will give you some inner confidence. It's like,
Sure.
okay, I can step up to the plate. I can step on that stage. I can talk about this subject,
Yeah.
you know, without throwing up. and
Yeah.
and I feel pretty confident about
Yeah.
that. I have a certain level of expertise now, or I can do that job or whatever that is. But that's still the confidence piece that's tied to the outer confidence.
Yep.
Now, the best scenario is to have both, right? The inner confidence with the outer confidence, right? So
Yeah.
often when we're learning, we put on the confidence suit and we act confident,
Yeah.
but we feel like we're a fake. We're faking it until we make it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have the inner confidence, you put on that confidence suit and you go, okay, I'm going to fake it till I make it because I just need to get more comfortable with this because it's new. That's okay. It doesn't mean I'm not a good person or I'm not good enough. It just means what it is. I'm new at this.
That's it.
That's all it means. And
I
that's
love
okay
that.
to be new. There's something called the beginner's mindset. It's a Zen Buddhist concept. Have you heard about it?
Mm-mm.
So the beginner's mindset teaches you to be a beginner always, to always try to look at everything as though you are a beginner, even the things you've done over and over and over, to look at it with the curiosity that a beginner would have, the creativity that a beginner would have, right?
Yeah.
And it keeps us young to do that. That's what keeps neuroplasticity. That's what keeps our brain young. So, for example, my husband, he does puzzles all the time. That's something new. If you're doing puzzles or you're doing something new all the time, you're training your brain to be comfortable with new.
Wow. I hate doing puzzles.
I don't like them either, but I do problem solve. I like to problem solve. I
Yes.
like those kinds of puzzles in my mind.
Yeah. Sheryl, you are amazing. I hope everybody watching goes out and picks up a copy of The Imposter Lies Within. You get that closer. Silence your inner critic, tame your fear, unleash your badassery by Sheryl Anjanette. And it's on Amazon. Is there anywhere else? I'm sure it's available everywhere.
Yeah, I know. It's on Barnes and Noble online, and then today's the launch day. So if you go to my website, or if you just send me an email, hello@sherylanjanette.com, I have some bonuses I can send you.
Oh,
You
really?
can also go, if you go on my website, you'll have there's a quiz there, an Imposter Syndrome quiz.
What? It's SherylAnjanette.com.
Sheryl with an S. So you see the way my name is spelled, like Sheryl with an S, Anjanette, ANJANETTE. And so I have that. And by the way, I just want to mention, Ken, the woman who wrote my foreword.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know of her, Barbara Annis.
No, I do not.
She's amazing. Amazing. So Barbara Annis is really the foremost thought leader on gender intelligence, equity, and inclusion in the world.
Wow.
And she works with world leaders. She works with, she walks into the C-suite, sits down with the CEOs of the major corporations. She's chair emeritus of the Harvard Women's Leadership Board.
Wow.
She's such a giver.
Wow.
Such a giver. And so I was really, really blessed, that she's also a mentor. She's a dear friend.
That's
awesome. She wrote the foreword for this book. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think that everybody needs a copy of this book. So go get it. Don't delay. Go get it. I've posted the link in the comments. If you don't want to click on that, just go over to Amazon and search for The Imposter Lies Within. It pops right up. That's how I found it. So, Sheryl, thank you for coming on and sharing with everybody and helping the world become a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. Thank you for everyone that's listening. And we'll pay attention to the comments. So I'll answer you in the comments if you're catching on the replay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's been on here and shared this out. Thank you, Sue, for being here and everyone. So thank you. And we'll see you all later. Sheryl, hang tight. I'm going to end the live stream. We'll see you guys later. Have a great night. Bye-bye.